and welcome to the episode of Real Estate Connections podcast, where relationships open doors. And today's guest is a fantastic person from Colorado Springs, Colorado, all of that 8,000 feet or wherever they live at. And it's Wanda Wood. And you are going to be so amazed by Wanda Wood because I'm so amazed by Wanda Wood. Wanda is a realtor in that area, serves what that kind of Pikes Peak, the mountain area. And I got to know her just because she reached out to me, which is a classic example of as people reach out to you, put them in your environment and see if it fits. So Wanda, as we talked, each time we connected, there was more and more we had in common. But what we do have in common in a big way is our concern about housing as we get older. The choices that we make in our middle years that do impact our later years and our later decisions, and also those issues that could kind of happen to us, an aging parent, a dependent child, whatever it could be. So Wanda will hear from today and get her perspective on things. And one other area that really struck me about Wanda is Colorado can be a very expensive real estate market. And especially in the mountains where you see these amazing homes with amazing vistas. Wanda's price point is low middle. As a realtor speaking, I asked her about that. And I'll ask her on the recording today. Wanda, your price point is not like 1 million something. And let's see what she has to say. Welcome, Wanda Wood, realtor from Colorado Springs, Colorado. Welcome to Real Estate Connections Podcast, where relationships open doors. I'm Mary Foerster, and housing is a universal need. We are often thinking about our existing housing, our future housing, that possibly of family members. This is where you're going to hear the issues and the people who are working the issues every day. Please hit subscribe and like if you find this podcast helpful to you. Thank you. Well, welcome, Wanda Wood, to Real Estate Connections Podcast. I'm so looking forward to this discussion because we have so much to talk about. Wanda is a realtor in the Colorado Springs area, and I know it a little bit, and she knows it a whole lot more, and has been a realtor for more than 9 years, I guess, right? And it has so many other interests that we share in common. A military background, we can talk about that, but also her interest in aging populations, how we provide adequate housing and services for people as they're getting older, or what we're finding a lot about is people in their middle whose parents are now part of their world or part of their family. So, Wanda, why don't we start by just telling us a little bit about what it's like to be a realtor in Colorado Springs?
Well, thanks first for having me. I'm super excited to be here.
Mm-hmm.
This is home for me. I was a transplant via military. I was an Army brat. We first got here in 1982. And then we got orders in 89 to go to Greece and Germany. And then my parents retired here and I kind of stayed. So, I have siblings that went, other places, but I always stayed, and just watching the growth and the people that do want to come here, it's obvious. I think the state would be perfect if we had a beach. That would be the only thing.
You have mountains. You have these glorious mountains.
Yeah, it's absolutely beautiful. So, it attracts a lot of different people for different reasons. So, it's home to me, and I'm a little biased. I think we live in the best state ever. So it's really fun to help sell the state when people are looking to move here.
And you have 4 military installations, so a ton of it. My husband went to the Air Force Academy, so many years ago. So I've heard about Colorado Springs, and I've been to Colorado Springs, and it's a magnificent area. And what amazes me is not only do you have an urban area, but in a very little bit, you're up in the hills. And sometimes very isolated area
for sure.
as well.
It's kind of like our weather here. I mean, you might walk out and it's sunshine and we have a few inches of snow by I don't know, 5 o'clock, and then it's gone.
Yeah.
So yeah, you can be in a different region very quickly, and the layout is very different. The terrain is very different. The surroundings are very different. So it's kind of what you like. You like the mountains, it's here. If you like out east where there's nothing, it's here. If you want a little bit of desert
Hmm.
like and head south to Pueblo, it's there. Um, and of course, bigger city. Denver has grown so much. So there's a lot to offer
Yes.
here for everyone.
Yes. The springs have really developed. I mean, our last visit was maybe two
Yep.
years ago, and we couldn't get over the development that had occurred there just in the city proper.
Yes,
It was
it
amazing to
is.
me. Yes. So, do you have a typical market? Do you have, in these years as you've evolved, tell me about you, what do you have a typical client or do you
I
serve a wide
do.
range
I
of
have a
people?
wide range. And I think, I didn't start coming in, said I did in my mind. I said, this is who I know I'm going to be working with, but it didn't work out that way. And I'm glad it didn't, because I
Uh,
get to help, a wider range of folks. Military was inevitable. I would say my husband is
mm,
retired from Fort Carson, as well as my dad retired from Fort Carson as well. So military buyers came pretty easily, I would say. Prior to real
mhm,
estate, I worked
mhm,
in the Department of Corrections. And so I have a level of law enforcement who they're very loyal in different parts of the states. I started there, but I would say first time home buyers were my first start. Um, Now, later in career, I'm being seeked out for more senior housing, just because of some of the work that I've done,
yes.
the designation time that I've taken, and things like that. So
Mhm,
I have a wide range. It's fascinating.
mhm.
It's fun because I feel
It
like
is.
I'm everybody's movie, and just kind of watching them go along their journey and watching them move and relocate
Mhm.
for whatever reason it is. So I help everyone.
And when we talked, yeah, we talked, it was clear your message was to be of
I know.
service, to really be of service to people. What also struck me is I followed Wanda on social media for a while, and the houses that you sell are, they're a couple of hundred
Yep.
$1,000s, right? So then they're not terrifically expensive. It's certainly not the market that I was used to. And it's in some cases basic housing for some people. I was so impressed, really impressed, because I love that kind of housing. And I love it. And as I get older, I think, okay, if something should happen financially, I'd be happy in just a little
Right.
space. I don't need a big space. I don't need 2 acres of
Right.
grass to mow. Come on over. It's that time of year. But anyway, okay. So you got a
Yeah.
designation as a specialist in helping senior
Yeah.
population. What does that prepare you
Well,
for?
I think it really prepared me for some of the challenges that our older population they find themselves in when they have to transition to different housing. Sometimes that is
Mm,
calculated by their timing, and sometimes it's not. And some have prepared
mm,
well for that, and some have not. So there are different variables. Depends on the client. Everyone has got a different situation. Long-term care, helping them on long-term care, sometimes estate planning, um, aging in place, what that looks like, or just finding that location that's going to fit their lifestyle that they're seeking. Because I have some older
mhm,
clients that they just want to, I don't like the word downsize. I'll say that. They're looking to right size their lifestyle. um, and so that could mean really, looking at some of these long-term or independent care facilities aren't fitting the bill for them. I have one lady who
mm,
she's very healthy. She just doesn't want the maintenance of her home. It's too big. It's now only her. But we took tours together, and there's nothing that fits what she can't have a bird feeder. She can't have this. And I think that's really important, to continue to have those things and to be around,
mm,
trails. And she's very active. So we've decided
mhm,
maybe she's going to hang on to her house for a little bit. We looked at all kinds of things
mhm,
for her, but it just nothing's gonna fit what she's looking for right now. So it just kind
Mhm.
of depends. It really does.
Do you find you interact with their families, like
Oh
adult
yeah.
children? Do you get called into kind of more time is of the
Oh yeah.
essence
Oh yeah.
issues?
Yes. I actually had a client who unfortunately found herself in foreclosure because she had to private pay for care. And have caregivers coming in. Adult children are kind of spread around, but met with them first, trying to find the best avenue to get her situated long term, and then trying to see if we could
Mhm.
salvage anything from the house for the cost of her long term care. So, yes, I do work with families. Oftentimes, it's the families first because they identify the need for the transition and other housing options. Um, so I just kind of listen, but I do always include, you must include the person they're talking about. Because I
Right.
think to having, providing dignity and still allowing them to know that they still have a choice, and keeping that
Mhm.
independence and making that option. But sometimes it's hard for them to think that's where they're at.
Mhm. Mhm. Oh, I fully agree. I was talking with a caregiver recently, and a lot of entrepreneurial women, business women, are now shortening their work time to care for an aging
Yeah.
parent. I mean, physical and
Yep.
direct care. And this one woman, this fantastic lady, Natalie Kime, and she has a chat with Natalie, and her mother's living in the dining room
Wow.
now, and and she is caring for that person, and so she talks about partnership, that she's in partnership with the in her case it was her
Mhm.
parent, right? She had to go out of state, sell
Yep.
the home, bring the parent back to where she was in where she lives, and that that concept of partnership was really ideal, I
Yes.
thought. Now,
Yep.
and I think it is sometimes easy to talk about the person rather than with
Correct.
the person. Yeah.
Yep.
So you got a designation, but then the other thing we talked about was you're getting a certificate in
I
gerontology.
am.
And
Yeah, that has been age has always fascinated me. I didn't know that I would be taking the course this way, but age has always fascinated me. More on the level of how can I stay looking the way I look at any age, to be honest. But once you start looking, as a whole, it is a number. It's only a number. It really is a
it's
number.
only a number.
And that mindset like really sets the pace, I think, for how you age and how
Mm-hmm.
you look at aging.
Mm-hmm.
That's a huge
Mm-hmm.
thing. I loved this. I just finished my first half. I'll start fall here in September. But it was more of a collaborative um, thing, I would say. It was an untraditional class. It's not a bunch of, homework and all of that quizzes and tests, but the facilitator brought in like adult protective services and elder care attorneys. And so it was more like networking to me, and being able to have more resources to offer and know who to call, because you do get those
Mm-hmm.
calls. So feels good.
And make, and they now know you, and
Yeah.
they know you have on a level of
Hmm.
interest, right? And develop skills. You have a certainly with each client so different
Right.
each time, as you say, you learn
You
something
do.
new and you learn how to help them
Yes.
newly, right?
Yes, you do.
Excellent. And then I also noticed that you're active in your Council of Governments, which also
Oh,
warmed my heart because I used to be a legislative rep and at the state level. And so are are you able to kind of integrate what you're learning in your certificate to what you're seeing in your COG in your Council of Governments?
absolutely. So eh, ultimately, the big thing would be to kind of grow that, I think, and get more people involved with the Council of Governments and the Agency on Aging. Um, I think I mentioned to you when I first applied for that, it was to me, I thought a volunteer opportunity. I had no idea what I was really applying for and then selected. And like I told you, if I knew, I probably would not have applied, but I'm so glad that I did. But it's more of an active approach to, advocating for the issues that are like transportation, digital improvement for rural areas in our area, um,
Right.
housing, social engagement, and caretaking. So they're kind of following a baseline for our multi-sector plan here, which is a 5-year plan, based on a survey that
Mm-hmm.
older adults took. So we have working groups that we've kind of separated. I'm on caretaking and or caregiving, I should say,
Mm.
and social
Caregiving.
social
Yes. Mm-hmm.
engagement. I didn't do
Mm-hmm.
housing because I felt like, it would have put me in something that I'm familiar with in a way, but social engagement, I just enjoy. I think that's huge, and it's
Mm-hmm.
very important as we age. I think we kind of distance ourselves and
Mm-hmm.
get comfortable in our little space and in our little places, and um, don't engage as much.
Right. And that isolating, many years ago when I was a gerontological librarian, I remember reading about isolation, but I was in my 20s, and basically, I guess my 20s, early 30s, and I didn't really have a full concept. But I think COVID gave us
Oh
a
yeah,
real kick in terms of what
for
isolating is all
sure,
about.
for sure, yeah. And I
Yeah.
don't think we realize how damaging it can be. Um, it's
Yeah.
very,
Mhm.
sad. It
It's a big
is.
issue.
It really
Yeah.
is.
Big issue. I think getting a lot of national attention, I think. But how do we address
Yeah,
it? In your own family, you connect with your
right.
mom. Um, Here, try to stay connected to my aunts who are, in
Mhm.
their 80s now. I'm one of them almost 90. And but, even my own age, I feel like I'm sinking in too. My world might be getting a
Yeah,
little smaller, even though we're doing a
yeah.
podcast, but
I think it's
that's it.
great. I think it's awesome the work you do.
Yeah, it is so
Yeah.
much fun. It is fun. Are you finding that other realtors are also being forced to take a look at kind of this population and do a lot of intervention and problem solving? I mean, obviously you're experiencing this, but are you seeing it in other realtors as well, other
I
professionals?
can't say that I do. Um, I
Mm,
can't say that I do. Um, There are a lot of situations that are super unique, and if not handled properly, it can be harmful, I think, to the consumer. If you don't know how to
mm-hmm,
guide certain people with certain things. People are not
mm-hmm.
familiar. You have to be familiar with some of the Medicaid look backs. I mean, that's changed.
Yes.
You have to kind of know what's going on in their world in order to kind of aid them.
Mm-hmm,
And I would say the designation helped quite a bit because it opens up, another whole world of reverse. Most people don't know reverse mortgage lenders. Um,
mm-hmm.
I mean, if you don't work with that population, you're not working with one. So most people don't.
Are you encountering the new reverse mortgages? Do you see people
I
using them
do.
more?
I do. I see it more so for purchase. So it's almost, yeah,
For
reverse for
purchase.
purchase. So that's for something smaller. And it kind of, sets them in a better bracket than worrying about having to, sell right away and then having to, put XYZ into the new house. So I'm seeing a lot of that.
So how does it work? I have a house in Springs. It's worth 500,000 and I really want to be in a smaller world. And so how does that work? How do I get a reverse mortgage for a
So
purchase
I'm
at
not a
that point?
lender, but I would just tell you how it kind of
Yeah.
explained to
Good,
me.
good.
It's
Yeah.
almost if you think of it as a bridge loan. So the
Yes.
current the subject home must have, adequate equity, um,
Hmm.
whatever that number is. And they can
Yeah.
actually purchase that other home outright, because usually they're purchasing something lower than what they're selling their current home for. And then they're not worried about any type of payments. So,
Hmm.
I wish I could tell you all the little things in between, but I'm not a lender, but that's how it works in the grand scheme of it. But you can do reverse
Hmm.
mortgage for purchase. And for me, I thought about, wow, that sounds like almost a bridge loan.
Yes, it
Yeah.
does. It sounds like
Yeah.
a bridge loan because the idea is that when you would sell your house, you could pay off that
Right.
bridge loan. But are people not doing that? Are people, keeping the reverse
They
mortgage in place?
that
Do you know?
it depends, but a lot of people don't know their options. And so that's why it's really
Yes.
important, because sometimes I find they spend more doing something that they think they should be doing, when something else could be saving them a lot more money, in the
Yes.
end.
Yes. Several lenders have come to me and said, I want to be on your program to talk about reverse
Yeah.
mortgages. Well, I haven't embraced it yet. That you brought this up. I haven't embraced the issue yet because I want to approach it
Mhm.
cautiously. When I was at ARP, we would hear these really, nice things. They would sound very attractive. And then we would have to kind of assess it. What is the short-term impact?
Right.
What is the long-term impact? So you're the first person, realtor, that has, brought that
Yeah.
up to me. And so I'm now more
Yeah.
inspired to
And
go do some more work.
and to be
Do you
honest
have
with you, reverse
go ahead.
mortgage has had such a bad connotation for a really, really
Bad
long
rep?
time.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest with you,
Yep.
the lenders that I did meet, I wasn't very receptive, and I was upfront with them and told them why. But they did a really good job of explaining how the actual program looks, and I had a bunch of questions about things that I've heard about it and why I wouldn't want a client, I wouldn't put them in, but it really isn't. And it's not for everyone. I will say it is not for everybody. It doesn't fit, one size fits all. But it is definitely an option. If it works, it's a great option.
Right. I think that caveat is really important. It's not
Mm,
for everybody, and really every loan is
right.
not for everybody. The other thing is that, and the other caveat is really examine it
Yep.
and study it and get some more information and see if it
Mhm.
impacts you. I love to go to trusted
Yep.
lenders, people I've seen interact in often very difficult, stressful
Mhm.
situations to get and there are many, and you obviously have some, and I've had a number of them over the years. So I think the next program is going to be, I think it's called HECM, right?
Yep.
Home equity
Yep.
something. Yeah, HECM. So I was told HECM. The other thing that came to mind as you were talking was the concept of
Mhm.
downsizing. I had a
Mhm.
guest recently, Saul Skolnick from New York, Westchester County, and he talked about side sizing, and and I don't know why it's so hard to say that, but he sells his house, his 200-year-old house in this gorgeous little
Wow.
town, and then he goes for another house, right? I know another residence, so it might be less expensive. It might not be.
Wow.
And interest rates are
Mhm.
different, obviously, now as well than, many people were handling 15 years ago. So he has coined this term side sizing. And so I'm attuned to it, and I like the idea. I like the idea
That's
a lot.
awesome.
Well, it is
Yeah.
really, really, really awesome. So what's the future for Wanda?
No.
Wanda, you have so many interests, and you obviously are down a very strong path in the aging community. Do you see yourself doing anything differently, or just kind of expanding your
Yeah, I
world?
think right now just kind of an expansion, because I didn't know what I could be doing and I'm doing it. I didn't know who those
Hmm.
clients would be that I'd be helping and I'm helping them. So I think as I go along, I meet more people. The it just comes. You collect the resources and you just, I don't know, it just happens. It just comes. So yeah.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, thank you so very much
Of
for spending time with
course.
me
Thanks
today. I
for
really
having
like it.
me.
And every time we connect, it's like, oh, we have that in common, and we have that in common.
Yes.
And you're what, 2,000 miles
Yes.
away. But I so enjoyed getting to meet you and getting to know you. And I hope we connect
Mhm.
again. And don't hesitate, audience, to reach out to Wonderwood. If you're in the Colorado Springs area, I'm not supposed to endorse anybody, but you can see that you can see that Wanda would be a good person to confer
Yeah.
with and to consult with. And also is a great person to get other referrals to, such as estate planners
For
or
sure.
lenders, because that's what we
Yes.
do, right? We
Yes, we
network.
network. We're
We
we're
network.
connectors. Yeah.
Very good. Well, thank you
Thank
again,
you,
Wanda,
ma'am.
and I look forward to another
Yeah, thank you
conversation.
so
Okay,
much.
great. Great. Thank you so much for joining us today. And I hope you found this conversation useful to you and your real estate goals. You'll find the contact information for our guests and any links they recommend you have in the show notes. And should we be able to help you identify some strong real estate professionals in your area, drop us a note at info@realestateconnectionspodcast.com. Thanks again, and bye for now.